I want to thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Adam Wright, and I have the pleasure of serving as president of Dallas Baptist University. My greater claim to fame is I'm married to Candace, and he's the love of my life. We met here on this hill, more than 20 years ago now. And one of the great fun things about life is just the friendships that the Lord puts in front of you. And one of those great friendships is Tony Carvalho. Never dreamed or imagined Tony would become the friend that he is to me today. And really, that friendship started first with his son, Tony Jr., that I knew as a student here. And then I got to know better Lauren, his daughter, as a student at DBU. And that has really just emerged into a really beautiful friendship where Tony has taken in the Wright family. I know Jesse, there's many other people that can share a similar story that we can. Tony just has this habit of taking us in his ways. And I think if you were standing here tonight, every one of you could talk about how special Tony is and the Carvalho family is to you, to your life, and to your story. And I want to tell you, because I think for some of you, this is your first time on the campus of Dallas Baptist University. By the way, I'm battling a severe allergy infection, so that's why my voice sounds a little raspy. I'll probably go smoke a couple of cigarettes. No, that won't be the case. So DBU started out as the first 2-year college in the state of Texas in Decatur, which is in Wise County, in 1898. We moved to Dallas in 1965 to our present location. So everything that you see on this campus has just been around since 1965. And it's just amazing how the Lord has blessed this university. We grew from a 2-year to a 4-year college, went from a college to university status. And today DBU stands as a nationally ranked comprehensive liberal arts university. We're a global university. We have more than 600 international students from more than 52 different countries around the world. And so it's a moment of pride for me to see what God can do through a university that's yielded to him for his work and for his glory. 90% of our students are pursuing secular vocational contexts. They're doctors and lawyers and business persons and educators. And here's my pitch to you. Pray for DBU, and if you haven't completed your degree yet, I'd like to talk to you. Or if you're interested in pursuing a master's degree or a doctoral degree, or if you know someone that's interested in a place whose vision it is. So this is our vision at DBU, to build a great Christian university that's pleasing to God. And we do this by producing Christ-centered servant leaders that we believe will transform the world. And I'm always amazed at who God puts on our path at DBU. You're sitting, by the way, in the Center for Baptist History and Heritage, and last night we hosted a group of denominational leaders. The room was full of denominational leaders, and we heard a wonderful lecture by the General Secretary of the Baptist World Alliance. And these faces on the wall of honor over here are prominent Baptists who, over time, from John Smith and Thomas Ellis all the way to Nelson Fanini. You probably know Martin Luther King, believe it or not, was a good old Baptist, Billy Graham and others on there that really helped shape America as we know it today in the Baptist denomination. And so I just wanted you to know where you're sitting tonight, the room that you're in. You're part of the Peterson Residential College, so you're going to see students coming and going. They live on this plot of land over here called Ford Village. There's a dining room upstairs and multiple dining rooms on campus. And I'm amazed, Tony, as I'm talking about this area of Ford Village, because if any of you are familiar with Porch Time in Florida, we dreamt and prayed about this particular project at DBU that came to fruition around 2017. And it's amazing because it was on that porch that we dreamt and we prayed about beyond Sunday morning. And that's been something that we've been thinking and praying about for a long time. And Tony, I want you to know one of the great honors of my life is the request that you made of me to write the foreword to the book. You are an incredibly gifted and talented individual. You're really one of those in life that doesn't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. You are generous beyond expression. Your heart is huge, my friend. And you have shown me Jesus in so many ways, probably more effectively than, unfortunately, many ministries do behind the pulpit, because you really walk the talk. You practice what you preach. And I think all of us who are here in this room tonight are here not just because we're interested in a great book that's been written, but we're interested in the man that wrote the book and your story. Because in so many ways, we see how the Lord has used you and used your story to touch our hearts and lives. And so if you've not read Beyond Sunday Morning, I know your hearts will be blessed. And I also know that if you had the opportunity, you could stand right here tonight and share some very similar sentiments. You could describe Tony as generous, as genuine, as heartfelt, constantly giving of himself, his time, his talents, and his resources. Who could ever imagine that a geologist could be described in such a way? So please don't come up here talking about rocks tonight. I'm just going to talk about rock tonight. But I'm grateful that you would take time to be here. It says a lot about you and your friendship with our friend Tony Carvalho. So without further ado, I'm so grateful that you have written this work. We're looking forward to many more to come. Would you do me a favor and give a round of applause?
No, I hate those. They don't turn us off.
All right, so God, it's hard enough for me to speak in front of a bunch of people. You know, I never do that. But the thing is, though, after an introduction like that, I'm tearing up. And then my allergies and everything else are going to blow up, and I'm going to have to go to the restroom here in a few minutes. So, but Adam, thank you so much. All right, that gives you an idea of, you know, Dallas Baptist University, the relationship that I have been able to see. I guess we're videoing this, so I probably shouldn't tell this story, but you know, if Trevor didn't pay me as much as he did, I'd be down here teaching. But the rocks worked out pretty freaking well with that Barnett Shale thing. And in fact, 7 sales in 7 years for $7 billion. I'm not bragging, I'm saying that was the Lord's hands all over Chief Oil and Gas because of a bunch of Christian guys. What am I going to talk about tonight? Can't talk about geology, so what am I going to talk about? The fact that, number one, I appreciate so much, yes, every one of you guys here spending the night. Thank you. No, I know they're going to release the hounds at 9 o'clock, so we can't spend the night, but nevertheless. So you want to talk a little bit about the book. Beyond Sunday Morning, what does that mean? I like going like this now. For people who have a hard time like me even thinking through stuff, I just go, Sunday morning is basically 10 a.m. to noon, okay? That's 2 hours. That is 1% of your life. So my question in the book that I hope I try to answer, this Christian thing is not a part-time job. Again, I tease people and I say, it's not like playing the guitar, and I play the guitar, but not well. And I ask people, you see my calluses? And of course you can't from there, but I can't either. So the whole idea there is that, right, our faith is a full-time job. Every single one of us is employed by this company, and it's a full-time job. And it's kind of neat. And you know what? Like telling my guys last week, we ought to be the goofiest people on the planet. And I don't mean goofy stupid. I mean goofy because we're walking around just so, I don't know, excited, exuding peace and joy because we report to the King of the universe. And I don't know anywhere near a better job than that because the company we work for, number one, is global. That's pretty cool. Number two, can't go bankrupt. The owner basically owns everything, so we can't go bankrupt. And then guess what? Maybe the neatest part of this whole thing, you can't get fired. No matter what you do, you can't get fired because once saved, always saved. Basically the P in TULIP, and how the P came from once saved, always saved. I don't know how that works, but nevertheless, somebody did. So as Christians, again, we should just be like, besides ourselves on how well that's going. The book itself, there's a bunch of little stories in there that are kind of neat. But again, teasing the guys last week, I said something like, we got a great endorsement, another endorsement last week. And I said, this time from God himself, which is most people sitting there like, okay, Carvalho, there he goes kind of thing. Again, But I'll tell you just a quick little story. I was headed towards a restaurant. I've known the lady that works there for like a decade or so. And you notice how we always talk ourselves out of stuff. I mean, I know what we should do, but a lot of times we don't do it. And I pulled in, I said, gee, I wonder if I ought to give her a book. And I talked myself out of it for various reasons I'm not proud of, so I'm not going to tell you what they are. But the neat thing is I go in there and I get a meal from one of the other waiters. I hop in the car and she just comes blazing out of the thing, boom, 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 on the other, the other window. And basically, to make a long story short, she's really kind of suffering. This lady is, you look up wonderful, gentle, always up type of lady in the dictionary, there's a little picture of Monica. But this time, something was not right. So she rolls down the window, we talk, and again, to make a long story short, basically she says, you know what? There's a bunch of things going on, but one is she's got some friends at church are one way, and then guess what? Outside of church, during the week, they are much different. So I'm sitting there, she didn't know what I was doing, but I was just praying, Lord, I'm so sorry. Because what I needed to do was get her a copy of the book. So went back there, picked up the copy of the book, gave it to her. My constant prayer, and I think you guys too, Lord, please make up for where I fall short. And that was just one of those classic kind of questions that I should have done that, taken that initiative. That was a pretty obvious thing I should have done, but guess what? The Lord had to make up for where I fell short. So that's okay. The book itself, the way we've kind of maneuvered the book, Jesse and I talked about this for a long time. I asked Jesse, how many of these stories should we pack in there? And he goes, I don't know, 66, like the Bible. And I just like the Reformed, frozen chosen Presbyterian, like whatever the aspect of that, me just pains shot through my left arm. Okay, like I'm going to write something like the Bible, all right, which is impossible. So I decided, well, let's change it. Let's make it 65 plus 1. And I thought that we scooted from the 66 just enough to kind of make it work. Now, I wanted to start with you guys have iPhones or whatever, send yourself a note. Go straight past the introduction and all that stuff, because that's kind of dry. And if you really want something to really like, that is the coolest thing that is so weird, Carvalho, then go ahead and look at the Calgarian Visitor. And it's kind of funny. I really didn't think you guys would reach for your iPhones, but like you are, this is great. And the other one is, what's the other one? Pizzas and billboards. Those are the three that are just like, you won't believe. You'll think that Carvalho is like, making it up. And that expression, you can't make that up? Yeah, actually you can. I don't know where that expression came from, but the truth in those things is, is outstanding. So again, Jesse and I kidding around, talking through this. He said, no. We got to do the old, you got to tell the readers who you are. Now, for those of you who know me, understand that like sola scriptura, they're the only two words in Latin that I know. And guess what? I think those are the only two words in Latin we need to know. All right, quite honestly. But, okay, fine. So what I did in the beginning of the book, you guys have a copy of R.C. Sproul's Reason to Believe, Common Objections to the Christian Faith. So I think of just common objections. I don't even know where that came from. That's just in my head. But I thought, I can't call it that because R.C. Sproul did. So I Googled common, frequent. I Googled then objections, challenges. So we scooted that law too. And we did the old 10 frequent challenges. So the first part of the book, some might say would be a little dry. I don't think it's dry. I think it's fabulous. It's a treatment on apologetics. But what I'm doing is I'm doing a defense mode. All right, the apologetics there, which by the way, when I say apologetics, I don't mean the deep, elemental, formula behind a teleological argument. I don't even know what I just said, okay? But the apologetics is more of a 1 Peter 3:15 kind of thing. Just be ready to give a reason for all this stuff. So I thought, okay, if I debate with these people, there's no debate, slam dunked them to the carpet. Okay, but the point is the first 10 chapters in the book, okay, are exactly this, all right? You take all the common objections, you guys are hypocrites, why would Jesus be the only way? Bible, schmible, all this other stuff that we face every day, and I address that in the beginning. So again, that's the way the book is kind of structured. By the way, I don't know about you guys, but in a way you get kind of sick sometimes of people just sitting there, why should I believe this and why should I believe this? But I think the magic behind that, besides just allowing the Lord to talk through, us at a given time, is to make believe that that's the first time you ever heard the question. Honestly, even though we're kind of like, yes, oh, the Bible is what it is because how else would Jesus fulfill well over 300 prophecies? You can't do that from a statistical, you know what I mean? We can do that kind of stuff, but it's not going to work. Just assume that it's the first time you ever heard it. And the person, whether or not, you preach into the wall paint or not, did Pilate say, what is truth? Or did he say, yeah, whatever, what is truth? I don't know. We'll figure that out on the other side. And again, that probably won't matter. But people in general, like I said, let's give them the idea that they're really asking, what's next. Okay? Again, the book itself is arranged in various ways for various people. It's funny, when I'm here at DFW, I get the idea that this is where I live. And I do. I kind of live here because guess what? DBU is here, Chief is here, all the people that I deal with, all my financial type of people are here. I mean, everybody is here. All my doctors are here, well, except one. And when I sprouted a couple of kidney stones in Florida, I thought driving 14 hours didn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so he's over there close to the house. Everybody else is still here. So basically, my life, if you will, is here. But guess what? People, a number of you have been out there to my home. Okay, they said, Carvalho, your home is in paradise. And I thought, that's kind of neat because even though my life is here, every time I'm here right now, I'm thinking, of course, I'm mostly thinking and talking to you guys, but I know that my home is in paradise. All right, you see what I mean? And in fact, the last time I went from here to paradise or on the way, 70 degrees, 70 miles an hour, just absolutely totally fine going down the highway. Pew! Okay, so I got pulled over. You know what I got pulled over for? For traveling too closely to the car in front of you, kind of thing. And you just go like, okay, fine. But what those things, those are, to me, I call those Nineveh moments. It's like, Jonah, oh boy, go to Nineveh. And you know what happened to Jonah and also the kind of stuff. But these are the things that happens to us, every day. Maybe not that spectacular. You're not going to be eaten by a fish or a whale and spit up on the beach. But the thing is, basically, we get the Jonah things all the time. And I think in this, how do you live outside of Sunday morning as Christians? One thing that we can do is compress the timeline between a Jonah reaction, yeah, sure, I'm out of here, to a, what? Isaiah, right? An Isaiah reaction. I'll go, send me, all excited. And I think over time, we can purposefully, certainly, but allowing the Holy Spirit to work through us, kind of compress that timeline. And what was kind of neat about talking to the state trooper for 30 minutes straight, felt like an hour, but I know it probably wasn't more than about 30 minutes, was that, what do you do, Mr. Carvalho? He got my name right the first time. And I said, well, I'm retired now, kind of thing. Well, what do you do? Well, Lehigh Ministries, I do ministry work, and I'm writing a book. In fact, kind of exciting, the book. Now, he had to do he can't be giggling or, he can't do that stuff. All right, he's had to drag, whatever. He had to be very focused on, his job at the time. So I don't know what happened, but the neat thing is after 30 minutes in my Jonah, oh no, Lord moment, that was certainly a time to share our faith, which of course every moment like that, that is, right? Yeah, I still don't sit quite, or I sit lower than I used to. No, actually, honestly, he did one of these things. And I don't know if that was before or after the ministry spiel or, like I'm a poor pastor and, I don't know. One way or the other, it worked pretty well. And I was kind of glad that I had that opportunity, and I sure was glad when I was gone. But the thing is, on my travels, what I used to do, I don't anymore, is I would wear a DBU shirt for two reasons. Number one, I love being a billboard. a billboard for DBU. You know, I had somebody at some gas station somewhere walk up to me, look at DBU, Dallas Baptist University. What town is that in? And I don't know. And you just muster all the strength and go, Dallas. But the other thing about wearing a DBU shirt, and sometimes a Lehigh Ministries shirt, okay, is that it forces you to behave. Honestly, right? If you're advertising DBU or Lehigh, God forbid, Lehigh Ministries, Carvalho is going to get thrown under, but you really got to be. So when the guy in front of you is getting gas and then disappears, comes out 20 minutes later with all the chips in the world and, a six-pack of beer or something, you go like, well, you want to do some body language, but you just really need to, thank you, you're here. And now we can kind of move on. But I think what I'm going to do when I travel now is I'm going to spend a little more time with the t-shirt that really makes more sense than even those t-shirts. And again, 2 Latin words, sola scriptura, because there is not a DBU of any consequence without sola scriptura. There's not a Lehigh Ministries at all without sola scriptura. And certainly, they would never, ever, ever be a Beyond Sunday Morning that was written, without sola scriptura in that perspective. All right, to wrap up sort of what I was trying to do with the book, 2 things. Number 1, I have outlined volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm working on 8, but there won't be an 8 because 7 is a nice time to stop. And the reason why I'm telling you guys that is please send me feedback, because I literally have 500 or 600 ideas out there, and I'm not real sure which ought to be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all that kind of stuff. All right, again, kind of wrapping up what I have to say today. See these things on my head? All right, these things are my personal Christian worldview spectacles. And guess what? A while back, I hot glue gunned them to my head. See a situation in life, walk into something that I would willfully or purposefully then reach up with the intent of taking off my personal Christian worldview spectacles. But I can't. They're glued to my head. And that's the way it really ought to be. So if I were you guys, tonight before you go home, go get you a pair of these. Don't hot glue gun, because that really hurt. The glue gun is just not a really good idea. All right, but basically, never, ever, ever take them off. Every Christian's in full-time ministry, whether we know it or not. And that book gives you ideas, and I think in a fun way. Somebody, I don't know who it was, somebody said my style is an offbeat blend of humor and apologetics, which of course I get, rain down hellfire from the frozen chosen Presbyterians. They'll remind me, you can't put humor and apologetics in the same sentence, Carvalho. Well, I did. There are certainly some things in the book that you don't laugh about. There's only 2 kinds of people in the world, those taking a left turn at Eternity's door and those taking a right. And that's not funny, okay? Because there is a certain portion of the people that we know that are not going to make it. Do we believe that or not? Well, yes, we do. Well, then what are you doing about it? Okay, so these, to put in a way, and at least people tell me I did it successfully, you guys will let me know, that I smile a lot because, I don't know if you've noticed, but the world's going down the you-know-what. And people are really mad all the time. And I think the only way to kind of break through the crustiness of this mad and this pointing and this, all this nonsense that's going on is to go through those thick foreheads with humor. So what I've tried to do prayerfully, and with a lot of help from a lot of people, of which a lot of them are right here, so I've tried to take the humor aspect that you can bake into anything and yet not negotiate the faith one bit. Again, thank you for being here. what I'm going to do is just say, fire away and ask me whatever you'd like. So we have open question time. Any comments, questions, or?
Tony,
Pizza.
I heard a request for pizza.
Pizza.
Before you do that, you have a significant burden for Bible studies in the marketplace. You devote 3, if not 4 chapters to that in the book. Can you kind of discuss that, and why is that important?
Absolutely. In fact, maybe I failed to mention that I was here 12 years ago and doing the old little, talk on management style and all sort of stuff. But a major part of that was why? Well, because I led a Bible study at Chief Oil and Gas, of which Debbie, I think, knows a little bit about it. And the Bible study there was just absolutely incredible. Like I said, I can't really, tell you more than it was just an amazing thing. So part of what Lehigh Ministries and part of the book and all sort of stuff is we're trying to present to people that you too can lead a Bible study at Chief. Sometimes somebody would come to see me at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and I'd still be in there and they'd walk up and they'd say, where's Carvalho? He's in Bible study. And it would like just amaze them that the lady up front would just casually say, well, he's in Bible study. So they're like amazed. They come back to my office and they talk to me for a while and they say like, this is great. You guys have a Bible study here at Chief. I wish, they regret saying this, I wish so much that we had a Bible study where I work. Well, guess what? What's my response? Well, why don't you? Right? It's a simple response. Well, and I have all these lame excuses and everything else. And in the book, of course, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as Carl says, there's an awful lot of this Bible study stuff. And we can change the world like in a hurry. Could you just imagine if there was a Bible study at every work location in the United States? Because all the lame excuses granted 12 years later and everything else, now it's getting tougher, I get it. I was the Bible study guy, Trevor was all for it, and basically I could quote, in my management presentations, I quote directly from Joshua chapter 1. You have a management, talk, and you're trying to decide what? You're trying to decide how to be successful. Well, wait a minute. God just told Joshua, meaning us, on how to be successful. So that's where we start. The number one lame excuse. I'm sorry, my boss, manager, or whatever basically says, nah, they probably wouldn't. Probably wouldn't? You can imagine, again, my response is usually, well, did you ask him or her? Invariably, the answer is no. Well, ask. Back to the, think about it, pray about it, do it. Go in there, sit down. How many times have you had somebody actually say, don't pray for me? Now, I don't know, maybe it's happened. It's never happened yet, for me. So what I'm saying too, and I'm not talking about being manipulative, but let your boss, manager, or whatever, understand that that's a primary purpose for the Bible study at work is to be praying for the management, your company. Not just success, but things like personal and corporate integrity, all that important stuff. All right, the next lame excuse is something like, well, we don't have a pastor on, staff. Well, you can rent one, you can get one. You guys all have churches, like ask them to show up, or geez, well, like kind of what I did. I didn't even go to DBU. The thing is, people can do this. You guys can do this. You don't need a pastor or all sort of stuff. And then, of course, this is a little self-serving, but what the heck. The next thing I get is kind of like, well, but we wouldn't know what to say. We wouldn't know what to study. And, we shouldn't laugh, but I'm sitting there going like, it's a Bible study. You're like, come on, guys, right? It's a Bible. And I write another little story about this. In the book, to me, it's the funniest one. Does anybody have a Bible? Kind of thing, a little story in there. That I was given a Bible study at a big church north of Dallas. And I said, okay, on the flood, evolution, young earth. Okay, everybody turn to Genesis, whatever. And there wasn't a Bible in the whole Bible study. And I wanted to say, well, go into the main sanctuary thing. I bet there has to be at least one person. Oh, God, I wanted to do it, but I didn't. Okay, but the third thing, what would we talk about? Well, some guy just wrote a really pretty good book. In fact, it's more than pretty good. It's like really good. And there's 65 plus one, can't use the 66, little stories and perspectives. And they can get a Bible study out of each thing. So right now I just sit there with the book. Carl, you're going to help me with this. And we're going to give people the book or sell it to them or whatever. Okay, and they forget that excuse. Okay, you now have one story. Sure, you can go grab other scriptures and you could do stuff. Okay, but now you've got something. So yes, a major part of the book, major part of Lehigh Ministries, the whole effort, is to let's see what we can do in sprouting, if you will, Bible studies all over the place. We can all do it. I mean, we can all do it incredibly well, and that would be a huge change. Yeah, Carl, thank you.
Tony, thank you for, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, do you ever have any downtime?
You know, great question. You know, it sort of depends on what do they say on Yes, Prime Minister? Well, yes and no. It kind of depends on, the perspective. I know your heart, though I know the perspective. No. But you know what? I wouldn't change it one bit. I'm on a full court press. I pray every day I make it to 120. I don't want to go to heaven. Why? Well, because I want to do ministry work and do everything I can here. Because whether or not you live 5 years over infinity or 120 years over, it's the same number, okay, on the other side. So I want to be here. I want to write volumes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh God, did I tell you guys I'm writing a book on climate change? Okay, if the climate change book doesn't kill me, I have said over and over again, the best idea I've ever had or the worst. It's going to be fabulous or it will kill me, really. I mean, that could be the end of it. And yeah, back to the guitar joke. Well, I don't have calluses because I don't play that often. But I'm never alone. That's the other thing. I am never alone. We are never alone. I got plenty to do.
Well, you answered my question. You're going to run on climate change next. No, thank you for being here. In the foyer, you said that this work took you about 4 years. And so my question is, what surprised you during that process? Maybe about yourself and about the Lord, but also what fundamental truths remain the same and just were doubled down in your life?
Yeah, great. Yeah, great question. Yeah, and I say 4 years. Again, Adam, we were out on the porch and everything else. I went back and I was digging around in the Jesse Nelson file. I can't believe he said that, kind of thing. So I'm reading the emails and everything else. And it went back, the first time you kind of helped me with, was 2017. So, right, I think that's about right, about a 4-year kind of thing. What really kind of amazed me was in writing, though, it just literally forced me into focusing on the important things, right? And, we call it the cover, and my daughter's artwork. But if you're going to do one thing, and I think the most important thing in this whole discussion in our walk as a Christian, please start each day in the immediate presence, the best we can now on this side of the river, with the Lord, okay? Get up a half hour early, at least. I think the sweet spot's probably an hour. But the thing is, I've been out on the porch for 2 or 3 hours, and you know what? I don't want to go back inside. And every night, when I go to sleep, I have Max McLean reading me Psalm 1, 2, 3. So here's the idea. I purposefully now start the day in Scripture, which is the only way we're going to know the Lord, okay? And I end the day basically in Scripture, listening to the Lord. Did that answer your question? But that is really the one thing we can do. I mean, everybody ought to have porch time. You don't need a porch, by the way. When I'm at a hotel and working with other people and the bus is leaving at 9 o'clock, I just rather have coffee, porch time. And here's a mistake I made in porch time that I think we all maybe might do this. I love Spurgeon and I love Oswald Chambers. And John Bailey, am I saying that right? His prayer book is just unbelievable. Okay, so what I started doing was spending a little more time with Spurgeon and whatever, and I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, I need to spend more time with Peter, Paul, Isaiah. So that's something I think we got to be careful because, again, there's nothing wrong with that stuff, but we got to put Scripture in the Bible first, right?
I don't know if they know that you like pizza, so why don't you talk about pizza?
Yeah, well, I made a big mistake. I'm a vegetarian.
Pizza got everybody to Bible study at Chief. Literally, we did tests.
Oh, yeah, Debbie brings something up that's just fabulous. Every once in a while, those Bible study ladies, they pulled a lot of fast ones on me. If we didn't get a bunch of people in, like even one or two, remember I used to take the one out to lunch? Because I didn't want to stop. And if we're going through a book and there's only one person there, I didn't want to do the chapter or whatever. So I just take the person out to lunch. I bet you guys, there's a back bench thing going on. Oh, who's getting lunch today? Okay, and you guys stay, you don't go. I bet that's what happened. But yeah, we'd get, I don't know, what do you think, 5 or 6 people on the average to Bible study? And how many did we get when we served pizza?
At least 16, 12, 16.
And then what happened when we stopped serving pizza?
Yeah.
But the 8.
And the ones who didn't come to Bible study were standing by the door waiting for us to take any leftovers. So we would eat it all.
True story.
But a good point Tony always made is when you were asking if he had any downtime was, so many people would say, I don't have time. I have to work through lunch. I have to work through lunch because we've got a lot of this work to do. And Tony always said, you take the 1 hour, to refresh your soul with the Lord. At the end of the day, you're going to have the same amount of work finished as you would have, had you worked through your lunch. And that's always something that makes you stop and think when you're saying, oh, I'm too busy. I'm too busy.
Yeah, Debbie, no, that's good. You can't outgive the Lord. Okay, now I'm a little wound up Portuguese and I can pull all-nighters right and left. Okay, I can drive halfway across the United States going, now what, Azores? Okay, but the thing is though, I used to prepare Bible studies every week, well, most every week. Somebody was on vacation or whatever, but every week for 10 years. So I think that's like 50 times, that's a lot of Bible studies. But I'd prepare Bible studies from midnight, Saturday night, to 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, right, I'm the wound up guy, oil field guy that needs to be pretty alert at 3 o'clock when we got a well needing some advice. Okay, granted. But guess what? I'm mortal. And if I'm up all night long with the well, the next day I'm pretty freaking tired. Or maybe not the next day, but like the next day. You know how that works? Like for a while you're okay, but then eventually it catches up with you. And never once in 10 years of weekly preparations was I tired on Sunday or Monday. Well, you can't outgive God. I'm sorry. Now, if I was up all night long doing something else, I bet the next day I'd be kind of toast. No, preparing Bible study every night, believe me, next day I was just 100% fine. Oh, by the way, the only reason why I went to sleep at 5 o'clock, you start getting really hungry. And I thought that wasn't fair on Lauren and the rest of the family of, okay, bagel time, blah, pizza time maybe, which is a bagel. Okay, whether or not your pizzas it doesn't matter, it's just bread and cheese and tomatoes in a different box. But yeah, so at 5 o'clock you go like, God, I want to pull an all-nighter or else, I better go to sleep. But yeah, with the stomach going, yeah, sometimes it's not that easy, but it's okay.
Tony, I'm a publisher. There's about 30 people in this room. Statistically, 25 of them think they are called to write a book. That's just survey's been done. There's probably 5 of them that will actually do it. What got you from point A to point B? What got you to the finish line?
Right. Like I said, from a Christian perspective, every single one would just go, number one, him, everything else. Well, that's exactly true. I went through some pretty rough stuff lately and kind of continue to go through some pretty rough stuff. And with my head between my knees on the porch and just, Lord, help me kind of thing, I knew that this is exactly what He has brought me to this point to do. Oh, which, by the way, don't let me forget. All right, because I do forget everything. Statins, lethal amounts of statins. I don't know what, Okay, but the thing is, all right, in fact, see, I kind of misunderstood where I was kind of going with that. But back on the thing, actually, what I remember now what I forgot. Okay. I think our verse, I think somebody tell me our verse, our ministry verse is Isaiah 118. I'm going to throw that out. It's fabulous, reason, all that kind of stuff. But really, we're in an Esther 4:14 mode right now. Every single Christian ought to be just so excited that the world's going down the toilet because the Lord put us here for a time as this, all right? Whether or not, I chose to kind of, write and pull that together was absolutely something I know that the Lord had over time with my, background and everything else, said, this is what I want you to do. And of course, if it wasn't for my very dearest friend here, Jesse Nelson, saying, Carvalho, what are you going to do about your legacy? I had no idea what that meant. Really, a legacy. I know legacy drive in Plano, but, So what he was communicating to me is, okay, you're a Bible study guy and you kid around, you like this, kind of a funny kind of character, and you love the Lord with all your heart. We need more of that. Well, now what? You need to write. So, and in my acknowledgments, I say, if you love the book, thank you very much. If you don't, it's his fault. But that's really, on the earthly plane, this guy, and of course the Lord behind it 100%. And I'm so jazzed now, I can't. Oh, but wait a minute, there's an element, no, to be honest, hey, how can you tell when it's the Lord's idea and not yours? You know what the easiest way is? I really don't want to do this. I really, really, really don't want to do this, but your love for the Lord says you do it. Early on, not so much now because I've been at it for years, but early on, especially when Jesse said, hey, you ought to do this, I won't tell you what I said, because the guys will have to go beep, 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 beep. Okay? I don't know if I really answered the question, but that's really kind of the bottom line. And oh, by the way, with the model that these guys are helping me out with, Lehigh Ministries Media, okay, inside joke, but we'll talk about that later, is that we will also bring other people under us now. That was another reason to do this too. We need more outlets out there for conservative, biblical, Christian thought. So what we're doing here is we're trying to create, again, another avenue for that. Oh, by the way, kind of a funny little side thing. Jesse and I were first talking about, I said, what are we? Because I don't like the word evangelical. I really don't, not because there's anything wrong with it. What's an evangelical? A gospeler, that's fine. But the mainstream media is like totally abused that and people are really confused. So forget it. So I said, how about Orthodox Biblical Christian? Which is Ridenour's stuff of, so what's the difference in the 60s? And then I had people sitting there looking at me going like, I thought you were Portuguese. And I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah. Greek, Eastern, Orthodox. Okay, so there was confusion. So we talked about this. How about biblical Christianity? We got a problem with the liberal guys. Then let's call it conservative biblical Christianity. And that's where we obviously need to be. Another way to say that in Latin is sola scriptura. All right, anybody else?
So the title of the book, Beyond Sunday Morning, and about integrating faith and life. Why do you think that is such a struggle for followers of Jesus, that we depend so much just on Sunday morning? We don't integrate faith into real life.
Especially today. Well, I think that there's a number of problems. We got to be careful. I love apologetics. Apologetics is great. We need to be able to defend. But the bottom line is most adults come to Christ not because they were persuaded, they were attracted, right? So we got to be careful with, how we orchestrate some of this stuff. But the integration of the faith, and this is what I believe, I'll be honest with you. When I look at I'm forgetting their names, of course, you guys already know that I can do this. But, well, not Ligonier Ministries, I don't forget those guys, which, by the way, Lehigh Ministries, see, I have a t-shirt on underneath this, is named after Ligonier, not where I went to college. Okay, but nevertheless, the whole focus, okay, of a Ligonier is going to be tough for a lot of people to really kind of get into. When I go with hang out with those guys, I get a headache in 3 hours or something like that. So the idea is, though, the surveys that, again, Ligonier and was it Lifeway Research, they tag team that stuff. Have you guys really seen that? Have you watched that over the years? Where, people who consider themselves evangelicals are universalists. Okay, I don't know what the numbers are, so it depends on the year, but a significant portion of us are universalists. That basically doesn't really matter. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and life. But, we sort of changed that to, well, I am a way, or maybe I'm the best way. The point is, the question of kind of like, why don't we do this? Well, I don't know that we want a lot of people doing it. But that is a problem. They just don't know. They just don't know the things that we need to be out there defending. They haven't bought off on it. And again, who wants to be I love it if all you guys bought my book and went like this, Carvalho's funny guy and everything else. But if you all got up and just, walked out, and a lot of Christians live in fear of that, of being rejected for various reasons, well, again, if you don't really understand Christ and what he did for us, if you don't understand the depth of that and how unique he is, well, what do you got to sell anybody? And then two, if you did, if they're going to throw you over the railing, well, that's too much pain for my effort. I think it's Bill Bright in one of his books basically said, don't worry about it. You don't have to know all this stuff. You don't have to be elegant and eloquent and all these things. You don't have to be impressive. Open your mouth and let God give you the things. There were times at Bible studies, women's type of Bible study, I get into some real tight jams. And you could probably see the prayers coming off, off my head. Lord, speak for me. Well, he did. Those were the best Bible studies. Why? Because Carvalho finally shut up and the Lord kind of took over. But do a lot of people really understand that truly? No. I don't think so. What do you guys think? Anybody else? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to sit over there, and if somebody wants a book, come on by. If you want to just take a book and go home or go to Denny's or something, that'd be fine too. You don't have to wait in line and wait for me to scribble. I haven't written anything. I don't know what I'll do. I don't even know how to spell my last name at this point. So it won't be in there. It'll be the AVC sign off. All right. Again, thank you so much.